In 1932, a new country appeared on the map, Manchukuo. It had a flag, an emperor, an anthem, even a capital city. But beneath the surface, Manchukuo was something else entirely. Not a sovereign nation, but a stage set by Imperial Japan, an illusion built with diplomacy, deception, and overwhelming force. Long before Japan arrived, Manchuria echoed with Manchu history, a land of contested identity and strategic dreams. On a silent winter night, Tokyo unveiled its grand performance. Yet key reels were cut before anyone could watch. What secrets vanished forever? Let's trace the true story and uncover the hidden truth. After the fall of the Qing dynasty, China fractured. Manchuria, in the northeast, fell under the rule of powerful warlords. The most dominant, Zhang Zuolin, was a militarist with dreams of uniting China. Japan, having cemented influence after the Russo-Japanese War, sought to expand control. Initially, Tokyo backed Zhang Zuolin as a proxy in Manchuria. But when he grew too ambitious, Japan chose a darker path. In 1928, Japanese agents planted explosives under Zhang Zuolin's train. The assassination shocked the world, but it did not deliver the control Japan had hoped for. After his death, Zhang Shuiliang inherited Manchuria and aligned with the Chinese nationalist government in Nanjing. His new alliance increased Japanese anxiety about losing their foothold. This shift in loyalty was fueled by the May 4th movement of 1919, a cultural and political awakening that galvanized Chinese resistance to imperialism. The growing influence of the nationalist government posed a direct challenge to Japanese interests in the Northeast. With Chinese nationalism swelling and Zhang Shuiliang's alignment, Japan's leaders in Tokyo saw their strategic position eroding. They began weighing a more forceful response to secure Manchuria. On September 18, 1931, a small explosion rocked a stretch of railway near Mukden. Japanese soldiers triggered the blast, blaming local forces, providing the pretext to launch a full-scale invasion of Manchuria. Within hours, newspapers blared, "Minor railroad explosion, halt service." Yet this staged provocation was designed to justify aggression. By morning, troops began pouring across the border, and cities fell under swift assault. With superior firepower and coordination, the Japanese Kwantung Army seized control of strategic rail lines and urban centers before the world could react. What began as a minor incident became the pretext for full occupation. For the people of Manchuria, Chinese, Manchu, Mongol, Korean, the invasion meant displacement, fear, and the abrupt end of sovereignty. Homes were burned, families scattered, and voices silenced overnight. Official bulletins bypassed this suffering, cutting directly to scenes of triumphant flags and restored order. The real story was buried under propaganda, lives left out of the narrative to uphold the illusion of peace. In comparison to Western colonial projects in Asia, Japan portrayed its creation of Manchukuo as a morally superior model, an Asian liberation from Western imperialism. While Western empires such as Britain and France often ruled their colonies with open exploitation for economic profit, Japan claimed it would civilize and modernize among fellow Asians. This approach reflected a belief within parts of the Japanese government and military that they were building an alternative empire, one rooted not just in domination, but in modernization and Pan-Asian unity. Yet the reality mirrored colonialism. Japan exercised near-total control over Manchukuo's governance, economy, and military, despite maintaining the facade of independence. What made Manchukuo unique was the intensity of the illusion, crafted not only for international optics, but also for reinforcing Japanese national pride and regional identity. To give it symbolic legitimacy, Japan installed Puyi, the last emperor of the Qing dynasty, as Manchukuo's head of state. For many Chinese, Puyi's return felt like betrayal. He was a figurehead used to mask the reality of Japanese occupation. Although he participated in ceremonies and signed documents, his role lacked real political power and autonomy. Japanese advisors held real control. They staffed ministries, directed policy, and answered only to Tokyo, ensuring that every decree and law aligned with imperial objectives. The League of Nations launched the Leighton Commission to investigate and ultimately condemn Japan's actions. However, with no enforcement mechanism, the verdict had little impact, and Japan withdrew from the League in defiance. Manchukuo's population was carefully managed to serve Japan's goals. Ethnic Han Chinese made up the majority, alongside Manchus, Mongols, and Koreans. To strengthen control, Japan encouraged Japanese civilians and military families to settle with preferential treatment and prime land, positioning these settlers as stabilizing agents and instruments of Japanization. Under the slogan, "Five races under one union," a rigid hierarchy placed Japanese at the top with special rights. Koreans and Chinese often filled harsh industrial or agricultural roles under strict supervision. Entire communities were relocated to make way for Japanese projects, shattering local identities and uprooting families. School systems were redesigned to teach loyalty to Manchukuo and reverence for the Japanese emperor, not local heritage. Curricula and textbooks promoted Pan-Asian unity while erasing native identity, molding the youth into obedient subjects of a synthetic state. Japan introduced advanced infrastructure, electrified railways, communication networks, public hospitals, and urban planning, making Manchukuo one of East Asia's most modern regions in the 1930s. Yet this progress served one purpose: extracting Manchuria's wealth to fuel Japan's empire. Steel mills, chemical plants, and mines thrived with forced labor and minimal pay. Propaganda films and posters celebrated this modernity, obscuring the reality of displacement and economic marginalization. Economically, Japan was reeling from the Great Depression. Lacking domestic iron and oil, Tokyo saw Manchuria as the answer: vast land, rich minerals, and untapped markets. After 1929's collapse, hopes soared even higher. Though returns fell short of expectations, Manchuria still delivered timber, coal, and industrial potential, vital lifelines for rapid industrial expansion. The Kwantung Army and many in government believed securing Manchuria would stabilize Japan's economy. Militarily, they feared the Soviet Union to the north. Occupying Manchukuo created a buffer zone, a breakwater to shield the homeland. In their view, this was national defense, not conquest. Yet beneath that rationale lay imperial ambition. Manchukuo was presented as a model for Japan's Greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere, an Asia free from Western colonialism but dominated by Japanese leadership. It was the pilot project for a Pan-Asian order. Propaganda sold this vision, showing unity under Tokyo's guidance. State-run newspapers praised modern industry and social harmony, but behind the scenes, profits flowed to Japanese economy. Manchuria's wealth, its minerals, timber, and farmland fed Tokyo's war machine. Local communities were displaced, sacrificed for empire. The reality of forced extraction contrasted sharply with the soothing slogans of progress. Manchukuo survived for 13 years, but in August 1945, as World War II drew to a close, the Soviet Union invaded. The Japanese military collapsed, and civilians fled in terror, many caught in the chaos. Hundreds of thousands died or were taken prisoner. Manchukuo vanished almost overnight. After the war, few defended Manchukuo's legitimacy. The League of Nations had already rejected its status as a sovereign nation, labeling it a creation of Japanese aggression. Despite Tokyo's claims of independence and multicultural harmony, most of the world saw Manchukuo as a diplomatic cover for imperial expansion. Even Japan, defeated and devastated, quietly let the episode slip from its post-war narrative as the costs of war became undeniable. Some Japanese historians continue to debate Manchukuo's degree of autonomy, its founding intentions, and whether its development model offered real modernization. In China, its memory remains sensitive, tied to themes of betrayal, occupation, and nationalist struggle. Yet, Manchukuo left a legacy: modern cities, railways, and factories later used by China's Communist Revolution. Many urban layouts, transportation grids, and industrial zones remain structurally intact. Cities like Changchun, formerly Xingqing, still bear the imprint of 1930s Japanese urban planning, showcasing the lasting physical impact of Manchukuo's blueprint. Today, Manchukuo is rarely mentioned in textbooks. Its story exists in the margins, but its lessons remain sharp and relevant. From the forged coronation of a puppet emperor to the silent echoes of forgotten factories, Manchukuo's story reveals the power of narrative and the cost when truth is edited out. Though the empire vanished nearly 8 decades ago, its legacy still shapes borders, cities, and collective memory. If this investigation opened your eyes to history's hidden story, hit subscribe. Every hidden chapter carries a truth that still resonates today.